I am Kesten Rono, and you are not alone in experiencing the effects of your seeing. Welcome to day 19, a very special day. A very special day. Today is Autumn's birthday. Otoño, Otonita, Grandota. Okay. It's very exciting. Autumn, fall. May we honor autumn by allowing and accepting the fall of our fears and inviting change in our perspective. Thank you for your teachings, Autumn. And welcome to Seeing on day 19 of A Course in Miracles. Remember, miracles are teaching devices, and we love to learn. And we are learning to love, moving away from fear, our upsets, our thoughts, however we've seen them before, and recognizing some idea of truth, true thoughts. That paradoxically, that we thought we were thinking, the thoughts that we were having were obfuscating our connection to God, covering up his voice. Whatever this is, however it speaks to you. Can you feel your intuition? Are you noticing anything in your life that feels new? Or dare you even say miraculous? Have you caught yourself saying, what a coincidence? Maybe over time you'll recognize a feeling that you have prior to the coincidence. Maybe we're witnessing something very special that should be occurring all the time. A gift of healing, of strength, to which we are allowed to be totally unconscious. It's a habitual thing after all. A very natural thing. Come on. So may we enjoy the teachings. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all that God created. Miracles therefore reflect the laws of eternity, not of time. The laws of eternity. Until today, I've never heard such a thing. The laws of eternity, not the laws of time. Of course, I believe it's easy or normal operating inside of this system of busy-mindedness for us to get lost in time. It's limited, and it truly is after all. At least that's what this book is suggesting, that time ends when the learning is done. But right there, an invitation to relax our fears, accept our change, let our old ways fall. Thank you, Autumn. Because by the time time ends, we will have known all we need to know. There's some idea of a knowingness on the other end of time, not some lack, not that we're missing anything at all. And we're learning that we've never known at what rate or exactly how anything exactly works out. And we're inviting this process into our lives. That there's a possibility that we haven't known exactly how everything is plugging in together. That in the present here, we clean ourselves, purify ourselves of the past and the burdensome thoughts, our upsets that cloud our mind and interrupt our communication with the Creator. Paradoxically, we end up in nothingness, where we are able to offer prayer for communion, giving and receiving love and strength through a very natural process. This welcomes us into the unknown, the limitless potential, possibly the laws of eternity, whatever those are. I suppose eternity is beyond time, some separate set of laws that by believing in the laws of time, we're tricking ourselves. Perhaps we're even tempted then if we imagine that we end up in lack rather than in knowledge, that it is a natural process for us to want to assume control. And we understand that by moving into this manipulation, this conscious control over the flow of whatever it is that miracles are, at least our thoughts, that things go awry, that there is a smooth process, some kind of stream that we are allowed to simply step into and glide effortlessly, that we don't need to keep thinking that we know best and grinding uphill just because we can't see where it ends up does not mean we need to be so fearful. And we admit that we are seeing our fears reverberated all around us. Perhaps we're not seeing light around the edges of the objects yet. But we can understand that our stresses are very real and they affect our physical self and presumably our spiritual self, our connection with each other and God, with the ability to calm down and notice that there's something beautiful happening, whatever that is, whatever makes a day special. So, if we can make ourselves sick with stress, of course, from food or improper use of medicines, no movement, too much movement, the wrong movement, who knows? So nice that there's so much variety, but stress, as the term maybe a doctor would use, something about our minds. We're stressing ourselves out, stressing over time. If we can make ourselves sick, and we know this for sure, may we invite ourselves to see another way and know that we are not alone in experiencing the effects of these seeings. And we're not alone. We're not alone in experiencing. We're not alone in a cause and effect relationship, whether we're image making or seeing. We have permission to see. We're so close to seeing. It's a natural thing that we are. And so maybe if we can stress ourselves into dis-ease, we can unstress ourselves into ease, starting with ease, an acceptance of not understanding. I don't understand all the statements in this. Miracles make minds one in God. Okay? The best I can do is that we have heard in the recent days that all minds are connected. Presumably, all there is adds up to the one. A one being a truthy value, representative of truth, therefore, of love. And if God is love and God is everywhere around us, then we are swimming in love, even if we are blind to it. And if miracles transcend the body, they heal by shifting away from the bodily level, then well, we can understand, just like we talked about with the infrared light on these plants or the Wi-Fi in this room, that there are other signals outside the body, that they do interact with us, even if we don't see it that way. And that some of these invisible ideas offer us healing. So, okay, minds are connected. They're one in God. Here's another non-understanding I have. And wherever I find a lack of understanding, if I find discomfort, I welcome the fact that I am here to practice with devotion. And there is a time, an end of completion, of knowingness, guaranteed to have enough. We are enough. We are worthy. We are on a path and there is a destination, and it's not up to us how or when we get there. That would be conscious control. We're here for the subconscious invitation of something beautiful, something around us, something that enhances our strength and our love and offers us more life, that has no threat to any ambition that we might have, lest we be clouded and know that we are acting in some untruth, that there's some part of us that we don't want to look at, something that will be blocking our sight. May we release those things and allow them to fall. Recognize our change in this turnover. Thank you, Autumn. Miracles depend on cooperation. Okay. Because the sonship, capital S-O-N, sonship, okay, is the sum of all that God created. Okay. Let's see if we can pull that in reverse. God is the creator, and creation means life. And God would not create anything without meaning. Therefore, everything that God creates, which is everything, has meaning. We've been invited to see that our thoughts, as we are thinking them, are meaningless, arriving at meaninglessness, nothingness, which is the prerequisite for true sight. And true sight allows us to see what is truly there, whatever that is, and enter into this process of miracles, perhaps seeing true sight, or even purifying or accepting our upsets, or even being curious. Perhaps these are all miracles, as I feel they are all offering us some strength and the strength to continue. And when we feel that we cannot continue, we are paralyzed by our own fear, our what ifs. I have certainly felt this way. And I'm admitting here, still only on day 19, that I must still be seeing out of fear, image making, and that I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing, however I'm interpreting them. And that's why I'm grateful that you're here too, to learn with me. God created everything. I don't know how we take all of that in as an idea, but I suppose that that is in the realm of the laws of eternity, not of time. Whatever that means. But whatever God created adds up to some kind of sum. And that sum is the sonship, according to this language. And the sonship requires cooperation. So I suppose we have a little window of understanding here that for everything to be adding up, for all the things that exist, all the things which have meaning, for them to equal a truth, a one, for everything that is, that they require some kind of cooperation. And that process is likely natural because we're referring to miracles here. A normal flow. So there is some participation, some cooperation that feels like there's an active component. And so I suppose we've been invited to realize that there's an active component all the time, which I suppose hints that we are participating, we're choosing. We're creating what's around us. I won't jump too far ahead in my mind to imagine what that means if God's the creator and we're creating our reality with our thoughts. It suggests something, that we are participating, and we've been cautioned about not consciously controlling them, which means that it appears that we have actions. I don't know if you've looked into Austrian economics at all, but there's this study of praxeology, this balance between what an individual, according to their experience, values, being subjected to the individual, and the actions that they take in the world according to those values, what they value, what they desire, and what they are desiring to trade. That through these actions, some kind of true measurement is created within the community and economy that cannot be replicated by any one party assuming central control and distributing in a way that they see as fit, that they fundamentally interrupt the natural flow of price expression represented, I suppose, representing the value as seen by any one individual. So here, it seems that we are in some process of cooperation with this process of miracles, with all there is, with everything that God has created, which has meaning. And when we attempt to assume a central control of those things and allocate how we see fit, that we are blind to some kind of process, that just by us interfering in a way that we think is best, we ruin the ability to read, to have true sight over the whole ecosystem, a complex ecosystem. That there's some kind of charge that things can have, which means that they may have different values, right? There are no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts, and I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. So I have some interaction with this cooperation and the charges that things have. And at least we know that if we have been blinded by this illusion that we've been building out of fear from our pasts, and we're here now trying on a new perspective, that we are here making a choice, it would seem. Whether or not we can refuse this process, I don't know. It seems that we can see a process, we can feel a feeling and choose to abandon it because we are ultimately afraid of what it might mean, how it might affect us or someone else around us. But would you not want to see someone whom you care about feel love and excitement, expressing their maximal excitement and pursuing something, regardless of how it works out, and seeing the value that they feel in themselves and what they're creating, just the opportunity of it alone? That sounds exciting. If we want that for someone, for our parents, a sibling, a child, at the park today, just letting her roam a whole hour at least, being herself. It's so exciting to watch her play. She values that. And she values the ball she destroyed. My value on that ball is different. I was assigning a cost to it, a loss, if I cared. So it seems that we have the opportunity to interrupt the flow if we want to, and that the flow of all things requires some kind of cooperation in order to add up to whatever the sonship is. Okay. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation. And remember, miracles are our thoughts, so we can start with just our minds. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all that God created. Miracles therefore reflect the laws of eternity, not of time. Thank you for my non-understanding and the opportunity to practice, because the longer I don't understand, the longer time goes. Lesson 19. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Yesterday, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. Today, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Interesting order. You are not alone in experiencing. You're not alone at all. You are not alone in experiencing the effects, noticing some kind of cause and effect. You are not alone in experiencing the effects of your thoughts. The idea for today is obviously the reason why your seeing does not affect you alone. You will notice that at times the ideas related to thinking precede those related to perceiving, while at other times the order is reversed. The reason is that the order does not matter. Okay, right there. Interesting order, and it doesn't matter. That sometimes we are thinking before perceiving, and other times we are perceiving before thinking. The order does not matter. Thinking and its results are really simultaneous, for cause and effect are never separate. There's a new idea. Cause and effect are never separate. Not that they come in one package together, but they are never separate. This is talking about them being simultaneous. That thinking, let's just say the cause, and its results, obviously effects, are simultaneous. They're never separate. So they just are. They are. May we accept that thinking and its results are simultaneous. And that this idea that I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts is the reason why our seeing does not affect us alone. So our seeing affects more than us because we are not alone in experiencing the effects of our thoughts. All right. Maybe there's some connection here then between thoughts and seeing. That arriving at this nothingness allows us to participate in true sight, and that our thoughts are miracles in their own right, and thinking and their results are simultaneous. Today we are again emphasizing the fact that minds are joined. Let's just accept that as true then. We just read it in one of the principles. Interesting how they align. Well, I suppose they're never separate. We are emphasizing the fact that minds are joined. This is rarely a wholly welcome idea at first, since it seems to carry with it an enormous sense of responsibility and may even be regarded as an invasion of privacy. These are all fear-based thoughts. We're reading the book. Let's practice. Yet it is a fact that there are no private thoughts. Yikes. We are in cooperation here, right? To participate in the total sum of all that God created. And our thoughts are miracles. I'm having thoughts now that I'm not expressing. And that's an interesting idea. And you're certainly having thoughts that, well, you can't express. This is a one-way audio. But somehow, our minds are combined. And that the thoughts that I'm having and the thoughts that you're having, we believe that they're separate. They're not. And that would mean that think before you speak, right? This idea that we have some kind of filter, it appears we're really only filtering what is absorbed through the sense of hearing or sight, I suppose, and however we express ourselves with our body language. That humans have 5 senses to pick things up, but we all know, again, we can gather if someone's in a bad mood or a good mood. And that might be from patterns that we're not recognizing, but we can feel something. We can feel something. And somehow we believe that we could be separate, that I can keep my thoughts to myself. I can tell you for sure I kept my thoughts to myself for a long time. And I still feel that it's beautiful to be able to think, to share ideas, especially, but I suppose now we're getting to the realm of speaking because ideas are beautiful. They give rise to whatever matter is. And the ability to speak with somebody about subjects like this takes the threat away. We're not going to war if we talk about war, that we might find some understanding. But we are creating something with our thoughts. And I suppose that also has to do with our intention. There are no private thoughts. Our minds are joined. You are welcome to invade my privacy. Please notice and hold me accountable that I do intend to be getting closer to devoting myself to miracles and becoming this wavelength of love and offering this to other people. Please notice that I do it despite or because of wherever I've come from and whatever I've experienced. Please notice with your mind. That I enjoy embracing this entire idea and my lack of understanding of knowing what it's like to be you at all. That somehow your thoughts are you and your experience is yours, and yet we are combined. What a wonderful paradox. Despite your initial resistance to this idea, you will yet understand that it must be true if salvation is possible at all. And salvation must be possible because it is the will of God. Salvation. Does that feel charged? What if salvation is simply the ability to recognize our fear-based thinking and choose through forgiveness, as Christ modeled, through forgiveness of ourselves, of anyone who's harmed us, of however we have harmed, whatever these hurts are, that we find a purification through forgiveness, asking for it, offering it. And we know that as we give, we receive. I suppose that must be the case because cause and effect are simultaneous. They're never separate, and neither are our minds. That maybe you borrow the idea of karma. If you have an intention and a thought and you put it out there and no one noticed, right? And perhaps that idea is still circulating and it's never really disconnected at all. It's just that in our blindness, we can't see how it is being interpreted. And of course, we don't know what it's like to be the other person at all. The experiences that they may have had that allow that to be immediately picked up. If you studied math your whole life and someone studied English, I suppose that there are things that that person would understand immediately, and you could say things. So I guess you'd have to be able to speak in this example, but they would pick up on those concepts rapidly. Or if they talked about numbers because they knew the words, you would be able to do computation in your head. I suppose I'm saying that we're different and we perceive differently, but we shouldn't be so naive to assume that there isn't something different about each person's perception or what they might feel. And it seems like God has given each one of us, no matter where we start from, an equal opportunity to come to reality, come to terms with what our upsets are, no matter how we classify them. More with a right brain feeling or more with a left brain systems, more with numbers or more with language. However we stumble upon meaning in life, it is the will of God that we are able to be curious about meaning and find it somewhere. And that as we move into this desire for meaning, we must move through meaningless. We actually have to move through something, it feels. And that is a natural process. It is the will of God. That salvation is here for every single person if we may just accept our upsets and the blindness of our own thoughts. Then, in asking for forgiveness, we may hear the voice of God. And then I suppose we're off to the races. The minute or so of mind searching which today's exercises require is to be undertaken with eyes closed. The idea for today is to be repeated first, and then the mind should be carefully searched for its thoughts, for the thoughts it contains at that time. So, we will close our eyes and say, if you'd like to repeat after me, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Feel free to open your eyes, but we will be saying that, you will be saying that today. And then allow your mind to be carefully searched for the thoughts it contains at that time. So we will say this mantra and then search our minds for whatever thoughts are there. As you consider each one, name it in terms of the central person or theme it contains, and holding it in your mind as you do, say, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about blank. So, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of the sounds I make. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I am perceived. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my curiosity about what is behind my eyes when they are closed. The requirement of as much indiscriminateness as possible in selecting the subjects for the practice periods should be quite familiar to you by now, and will no longer be repeated each day, although it will occasionally be included as a reminder. Do not forget, however, that random selection of subjects for all practice periods remains essential throughout. Lack of order in this connection will ultimately make the recognition of lack of order in miracles meaningful to you. One word that I remember saying yesterday was entropy. It wasn't in the book, but this idea of lack of order, I thought it was out of place. Entropic? But here, it's actually entropy, this lack of order, that we are trying to welcome each day, because this makes the recognition of the lack of order. Apparently, miracles represent lack of order. Lack of order in this connection will ultimately make the recognition of lack of order in miracles meaningful to you. So, there is some lack of order in miracles. And here we are exploring our thoughts and attempting to remember to embrace randomness, a lack of order. And miracles are our thoughts. So I see subtly here that it seems that in our thoughts and being curious about searching our mind for what thoughts were there, not about what thoughts we're having, but carefully searching our mind for the presence of thoughts. And then looking at each one, allowing the order of their selection or noticing to be random. But there's some process here about engaging with thoughts and combining a lack of order, which we should be doing with every single practice, both the ones that we're preceding and whatever's coming next, even when we're not reminded that we're inviting disorder the opposite of control, control being one of the mechanisms of fear, believing that it can mandate what an outcome will be. But this misguides miracles. So, okay. The emphasis of conscious control on miracles, the tool of fear for creating order because it is afraid of the unknown, is something that interrupts the flow of miracles and our recognition of the lack of order of miracles. So we are entering into a process, engaging with our thoughts, which are synonymous with miracles, accepting, evaluating them with a lack of order, which seems to be programming us in a way to unsee how we have been seeing based out of our fear-based mindset and recognize a lack of order as some kind of pattern, that miracles have a lack of order to them, which can be meaningful. Everything that God creates is meaningful. So God, in this expression of love, maximally, this salvation, the will of God, whatever we are waking up to, contains a lack of order that has meaning, that we will find meaningful. That's the unknown, right? Accepting the disorder, and that the disorder actually has meaning inside of it. That letting go. Does your life feel chaotic? Would you accept that this chaos is part of the messaging of your life? That it has a meaning? That it's offering us salvation, a direction of salvation on the way to perfect safety, perfect peace? Doesn't perfect safety and perfect peace sound like the resolution of chaos? How can a lack of order in miracles be meaningful? And yet, where we are headed is perfect peace and perfect safety. Maybe it's not something to think about so much. Maybe it's something that we can accept. And today, we'll practice by saying, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about lack of order. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about dinner tonight. We're having steak to celebrate. Apart from the as needed application of today's idea, at least 3 practice periods are required, not recommended. Shortening the length of time involved if necessary. Do not attempt more than 4. 1 extra credit allowed. Peace and meaning in a lack of order. I suppose a lack of order would allow us to unwind ourselves from our normal thinking and accept an idea as different, as our minds are all connected. But as miracles transcend the body, perhaps it is natural to believe that the invisible contains the ability for all minds to be connected. Perhaps it is our insistence on distance, on space, that creates an illusion of separation. Just like we said, miracles are reflections of the laws of eternity, not of time. Hmm. Hmm. We order a lot of things by time. Daylight savings time. We have to flex our time, we believe, around the natural processes of the earth. Someone tells me that today's day has a label, making it a weekday. Someone tells me that every weekday I should listen to my alarm go off like a school bell. And like Pavlov and his dog, mindlessly move throughout my day and give my energy away to some other process. Do so with gratitude because I'm rewarded at the end of the day. My reward is to take a break, sleep when I'm least effective to work, and hear my alarm go off, the factory bell again, and do my job. Because after all, I've labeled this day in time, and I've adjusted the time according to the sun so you can do your job. I'm not saying that's not valuable. It is one reflection of a system, and I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about this system. May we allow ourselves to at least notice our discomfort and perhaps even relax into comfort, allowing ourselves to remember we are here practicing. These are ideas, and we are here to learn. And if we try them on and they do not fit, then they would not be the truth. So there is nothing to fear in the disorder of introducing new thoughts, allowing ourselves again to appreciate falling away, the change of a season, and our perspective on Autumn's birthday. Hi, Michael. Oh. So, thank you so much for being here. I am Kesten Rono. I'm curious about discovering the meaning in the pattern of lack of order in miracles. And I'm willing to release my control over what this process is. And I'm grateful for noticing whispers of my intuition and the patterns that they are creating where I would not think that there is a pattern. If this is the voice of God and its direction, I can say for sure it has been quite fun to notice and that I feel more alive. And I appreciate this extra spice of life. That something about me engaging in this simple practice each day is offering me more strength in the unknown. And I hope you feel comfortable letting go too, knowing that you're not losing anything save your fear. See you tomorrow for day 20 of our Course in Miracles.